Doing it? Are we here? Are we live yet? We're live. We're live. What's up? How you doing? Doing the thing. Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. Today we're talking about tidal waves. You know I love talking about tidal waves. But I want to talk about sort of how to navigate tidal waves. And the reason I want to talk about this is it seems like, at least, my perception of the rhetoric, whatever, is that tidal waves are either something that you build up over time and get crushed by, or they are something that through working on your demons, whatever, you end up avoiding. Look, obviously, I would love to avoid all the tidal waves. That sounds amazing and terrific and fantastic. That's not particularly realistic. And the reason that it's not realistic is that depending on where you're trying to grow and how you're trying to grow, just like the model for growth is always slightly reaching beyond your current capabilities, right? So necessarily, you're gonna be swimming into the waves a little bit. Rarely are you going to be cruising. And so what you eventually, again, sort of like your default baseline is going to be, I'm not, the way that I sort of think of it is like, you're not swimming towards the shore, right? And letting the waves carry you, but you're also not swimming like dead far out. Like you're not like trying to fight against the waves either. So if we can think of it, this is my weird ass NI analogy, right? So if you think of like the beach is here and then the ocean is all over here. So the ocean waves are coming in to the beach and you're trying to get like out to sea, right? You're trying to get to some point somewhere, right? That's away from the beach, right? Let's say the beach is townfolk land, and let's say the ocean, whatever, like that's your darkness hero's journey. And then eventually you'll do the thing and then let the waves carry you back to shore, right? Okay. So if I'm over here on the shore and I got to get out to here, there's a couple of ways that I can do it. I can either swim all the way the fuck out this way and then have a relatively easy time going up, right? It's going to be a bitch to go this way, right? Too far, because you're fighting the current. But it makes this little trip up here, right? This shorter leg of the triangle, you're going to have to do a little bit of correction, but like you'll get there because all you're having to do is like, all right, I made it this far. And so now I'm not necessarily trying to overshoot. I'm just, accounting for the natural waves of life, right? That's pretty good. That is absolutely one way to look at these waves and tidal waves and how to not, again, because the goal, you don't want to get crushed by a tidal wave. That's not fun. Not only is it painful and sort of like life-altering for you, if there are people around you that count on you, like your kids or whatever, you getting hit with a tidal wave, that can like affect them and like a negative way. So, I'm a big fan of trying to mitigate, not just being like, well, tidal wave's going to hit me, guess I'll get fucked. And then whatever, it's not that big a deal, la, la, la. Right? So that is one way to do it. And I think that there are times when you are going to have to swim directly into the waves that are coming at you. I think that there are some number of times, I don't know if it's a lot, I don't know if it's a little, but certainly there is some number of times where that is really kind of important and necessary. Right? Because again, so let's say you're on the shore here and your goal is out here. if all you're doing is like swimming up the coastline and being like, nah, it's cool, guys, I'm here. Well, okay, no, there's a whole other axis you have to like figure out and deal with. So like you're gonna have to do that eventually. And what I have seen with a lot of people, certainly in like the arts community, the acting community, performing community, whatever, is they'll be sort of swimming along the shore and being like, but I'm so close. And it's like, yes, relative to here, you are certainly closer, but there is a whole other axis that you're missing, which involves swimming into the, the waves in a very direct way. And where I have seen a lot of people burn out, and certainly I have burned out many times in my life, is when I'll be like, oh, okay, I just need to like, I thought it was really easy. I wasn't using many of these hard muscles. And now it's like, oh, fuck, I got to do all of this work to get from the beach to the boat. Let's call it a buoy. Let's call it a boat, because it's not a boat. You don't want it to be a boat, because then that's a different metaphor. But let's say there's a buoy there. You're like, okay, got to get from the beach to the buoy. But I'm here. Well, let me just walk along the beach for as long as I can, and then I'll swim out, right? That's a way to do it. But you're also not spending, like in terms of just amount of time you're spending in the water, you're cutting yourself off from a lot of opportunities, because you're just not, your leg muscles are fine and your walking muscles are good. But then when you go and try to like do the really hard thing, you've just been walking this whole time. And it's like, but I'm so close. Like, why the fuck can't I get there? And it's like, yeah, because you're having to use muscles you've never, ever, ever used before. So we can sort of think of the analogy of like walking versus swimming, right? Walking is using your saviors. Swimming would be using your demons, right? That's sort of the analogy. And I think that makes sense, because if we're talking about tidal waves, the whole reason that these tidal waves build up and you get your ass kicked by them is because you've been staying on the beach and not swimming. You're like, I know this is a fishing town, but I'm not a fisherman. I don't need to deal with the water. I'm not one of those people. I'm a coconut person. We harvest. This turned into a Moana analogy. Sorry, not sorry. But obviously it was going to go there if you've ever met me. So like you have the villagers and they're like, consider the coconut, right? We have everything that we need with these coconuts. We are not, we do not go beyond the reef. We are not wayfinders. We do not sail, because we have everything we need, on the beach. And so you're like, well, okay, well, I can get the thing that I need, like to get beyond the reef. I got to cross at that point. So like, one of the reasons that Moana gets her ass kicked so early in the movie, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is that she just has no idea how boats work. She's like, oh, fuck. Right. Like, I understand the concept of boat, but like using a boat to navigate storms and whoa. And she gets her ass kicked. Eventually, over the course of the movie, whether it's, I know we moved from swimming to boating, but like land-based transportation, water-based transportation. Once she starts to, do it a little more, she starts to like get her sea legs, so to speak. You notice a difference in how good she is at boating as the movie progresses. So that by the end, when she actually has to restore the Tart of Te Fiti, she has built up enough of her boating skills, aka the doing her demons work in the unknown water, that she's like, oh, I get it. I can go around Taka like this. I can do this maneuver with the boat, and I can do that maneuver with the boat, and whatever, right? And so when we apply this to our own personal growth and our own demon journeys and our own like acceptance of all parts of ourself, right? I think that what I really take from this, from the Moana story, from this, walking versus swimming analogy, is here's the thing. At some point, you're gonna have to, right? If we're starting from here, got to get to here, and this is out in the water, and this is on the beach. So at some point, you're gonna have to go north towards whatever it is you're going to, right? And at some point, you're gonna have to go west, right? Both of those axes need to be crossed. One thing that I have found really, really helpful is starting your swimming journey sooner. So you're like, okay, I could spend this time walking up to the buoy, right? And then having to learn how to swim while swimming into the waves. That's hard, man. Like, because you've deprived yourself of so many opportunities to get better at swimming and to build those swimming muscles. One thing that, sort of looking back at my own journey to living in LA, was always the goal. As I've mentioned before, like, if I'm being really honest with myself, the goal was never actually Broadway. It was always to be on TV and to be in movies and to do that thing. But I like musical theater. I was good at it. These are where the opportunities were. I did like New York. I did enjoy a lot of it. So I sort of took those opportunities. But like, then I stayed there for too long. And I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so glad that I forced myself to like learn how to swim in New York and in the really fucked up, choppy New York waters. Because like, that's made living out here astronomically easier. I'm talking about, it's a night and day difference between the difficulty level of trying to hustle in New York versus the difficulty level trying to hustle out here in LA. I just did an audition for for like the next level of improv classes, and I don't know if I got it or not. Who the fuck knows? But I was like, as far as auditions go, this was fine. Like, it was not, you have a 3-line scene to be funny, go. Like, there were 6 of, again, they organized it really well. There were only 6 of us doing this audition. They had us do these little short 3-line 2-person scenes. Then we did like a longer 2-person scene. And then we did one big group scene to sort of see how we could like connect with multiple people and not just, again, be in a group scene. And I remember like just reflecting on that experience. I was like, this is very doable. And again, look, I think it went well. I think we all did a really good job. We all did about as good of work as we could do, given the constraints and, given how we've been doing in classes before and whatever. So like, I think that's, we did what we could. But just thinking about the format of it and thinking about like, oh man, I am so glad that I spent the better part of 10 years doing auditions where it's like, show up in the morning, wait in line, walk in the room, you have 75 seconds to sing to try to get a callback for a Broadway show. I did that every day, multiple times a day for about 8 years. And so just like this kind of environment is so much less stressful Because it's like, all right, that, the first scene, it was fine. Like, they gave us a note. They needed us to do something different. Or no, the first scene I did was fine. The second scene, they gave us a note, and then it went great. He was like, great, 500%. Like, that's fantastic. Great, good. And then for the last group scene, it's a big group scene. That's, always tough, especially it was a Zoom audition. But I was like, oh, this is fine. Like this, like I didn't feel like I got my ass kicked because of the format of the audition. And that's sort of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about swimming into the tidal wave. Because here's the thing. If I'm chilling on the beach and a tidal wave is coming, right? Any amount that I swim into the tidal wave is going to make it less painful. Even if I swim 25 yards into the tidal wave, better than nothing. Better than nothing. And that's what I think that a lot of people, including myself, don't easily realize, is that we think of tidal waves as being this binary thing where it's either we get slammed with a tidal wave or we ride on top of it. And that's not really how this works. Because waves just happen. Waves are gonna happen. And here's the thing. Even if I'm the best, here's my instance, right? I'm really, really good at swimming into the waves. But then I burn out, right? And so a lot of my, a lot of my habits were like, let me walk up to it and then just give a big burst of energy and try to hit that buoy. And then just continuing to do that every single time. Here's the problem. With how many people exist in the world now, and certainly because of how technology has collapsed, boundaries and barriers of entry and things like that, whereas before there might have been, a handful of people willing to make that trek up to the swim out point so it's a straight shot. But now you have not only the people who accidentally already live there, right, who are already at that part of the beach and they can just swim out with no effort. You have people coming from everywhere trying to make it to this point to swim out at the same point and trying to get the buoy, trying to get the brass ring. And so it doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are, you're going to get drowned just by the number of humans and things and extra, chaos, whatever. It's going to kick your ass. And it's going to make it unnecessarily difficult because there's never going to be a time when you can find an opening, because those openings don't exist in that way anymore. And again, a lot of the old rhetoric, I think, was very much about use your saviors first and then, turn up the heat proverbially and use your demons to go for that promotion, to get that brass ring, to make that sale, to get that money. And that can work. But I don't know, man. That's not, that's a risky proposition. And you're going to be expending a lot of energy trying to swim out constantly and learning how to, that's also the worst fucking way to learn how to swim. If you're only swimming into the waves and in the choppiest water possible, you're going to get fucked. That's really tough. So what I advocate, and to an extent, I think that Dave and Shan are a little more hardcore about this than I am, but we actually have very similar premises of okay, the impulse wiring, whatever you want to call it, is to do our saviors first. The natural consequence of that is to not do your demons, right? That's the sort of thing you're well, that's obviously terrible, right? So, again, obviously don't do that. Eventually, I think you want to get to the point where you use your demons first and then have your, like, demons start the process. And then your saviors will interject as needed to get you closer to the goal, right? Because you do want a true savior demon balance. You do not want to be living in your demons all the time. That's exhausting. That's right. And then how about this? If we think of like saviors are on this axis and demons are on this axis, if you only ever use your demons, yeah, you're going to get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm at the buoy. We got it. You're like, no, I'm going to keep swimming. It's like, well, but wait, now you're further away from the, what the fuck, dude? No, the buoy is that way. Stop. Right? You need both axes. You need your saviors and your demons. What I am encouraging, what I think a lot of OP culture encourages, and what I like so much about it, is it's saying do your demons first so that you know that you will have done them. And then once you have done your demons, you're going to continue to do your demons to an extent. But like, so if I'm, again, starting here on the beach, got to get to here. If I'm spending all this time building my swimming muscles, getting further out and further out and further out and further out each time, right? First time it's 25 yards, then 50 yards, then 100 yards, then 200 yards, then 250, right? Whatever it is. Now it's like, okay, I'm like slowly getting better at swimming directly into the waves. And so now that once I'm like around at the buoy, maybe you want to overshoot the buoy a little bit. Now when I'm swimming towards the buoy, first off, my swimming muscles are fucking great because I've been practicing. So now it's like, all right, I'm swimming up, and then the waves are going to knock me back a little bit, but it's all good. I've already overshot it. And so now I just need to do a little bit of course correction, right? And this is where you get that nice sort of like wave-like pattern where it's like, all right, I'm overshooting the goal. Now I'm undershooting it, undershooting it. And eventually you'll just sort of drop into it. But you can't drop into it from out here, and you can't drop into it if you're just swimming at the thing. Because when you're swimming just at the thing, now it's like, all right, great. I worked. I've swam. I have arrived. I fucking made it to the buoy. But now you're fighting for space to stay on that buoy, and you got more people like clamoring and trying to knock you off. And you're like, wait, but guys, there was a whole other side of this buoy that we can hold on to. You don't have to like swim to the front point of the buoy and then climb your way around. It's a big fucking buoy, guys. It's fine. And so one thing that you can do absolutely in whatever field is swim out and swim past the buoy and then just sort of like gently drop into it. Right, if you're shooting a basketball hoop, you don't shoot directly at the basket. You shoot over the basket and hit the backboard, and then or you swish or whatever, right? Because sometimes you don't have a backboard, so you got to learn to like arc your shots really nicely and go out of frame so it drops right in. If you have a little extra help, whether, financially, emotionally, familially, place to live, whatever, that's sort of like using a backboard, but it's just a backboard. That's not the whole game. If you suck at shooting, no amount of backboard is going to help you. And if you're really good at shooting, the aid of a backboard is not gonna matter. You're like, I don't care if there's a backboard there or not. I'm good enough at just shooting and dropping it in that I don't give a shit. But all of this is predicated on the idea of basically trying and failing. And one of the biggest reasons that I really had to leave New York is it is not a city that allows for failure of any kind. And I'm not talking about like, I completely whiffed 7 times in a row. It's okay. You'll get it the next time, right? Like that's maybe a little bit too far on the other extreme. But like, This is the sort of thing where, all right, it's so fucking taxing to do any swimming at all because there are so many humans. I'm just gonna like, you just get exhausted, and it's like, well, if I don't get 100, this is where that 0 to perfect mindset comes. And what they're talking about is like, you can't go from the shore out to 100, meters out. 100 mile. I'm trying to think of the right denomination, because like 100 meters is like, that's just a short sprint. Like anybody, 100 yards, that's 4 laps in the pool. That's like nothing. But whatever. Let's say 100% of the way there. Let's say it is a lofty goal. Whatever. If you expect to go from the beach to the buoy in one shot the first time, that is an unrealistic expectation. And it's also not necessary, because what it means is that you have to stay on the buoy once you have gotten there, and you have to like fight for your space. And then you get stuck and you're like, well, fuck, I'm clinging to this buoy for dear life, but everybody's fighting for my position, and you get stuck in this fixed mindset again. Whereas what I'm encouraging is being like, okay, these waves are coming. This tidal wave is fucking coming. Let me start to swim out into it. That way I only get hit with 75% of it, right? And it's going to suck, but it's going to suck less than getting hit with 100% of it. And then you swim out further and you get hit with 50% of it. And then you only get hit with 25% of it. And now what will happen is you'll get to see your pattern so often that you're like, okay, I can see a tidal wave starting to come. I can't stop the tidal, like I can't stop the tidal wave from happening to someone else, or just the waves are going to come in general to life. But here's what I can do is I see that tidal wave and I can just start swimming out to it. We're doing a lot with perspective here, right? So now the tidal wave is this way. Right? I'm swimming into it. And then once I get close enough to it, when I actually have to swim through that tidal wave, it's a smaller wave because I'm catching it as it's forming. I'm not trying to swim through a fucking 20-foot tall mass of water. That is significantly harder. Like, yeah, let me try to cut through this when it's at 5 meters. Okay, great. 5 meters would be 15, 16, whatever. That's a different 5 feet, right? Let's get it when it's 5 feet. Whatever. This is not a sensory literal video, guys. We're going full NI with this one. That's just what's happening. So it's like, yeah, I'll swim through a 5-foot wave. That seems a lot easier. And I think that where a lot of people get caught up or sort of defeated, and I know I certainly got defeated, was this idea of like, well, if I'm on the shore, the waves are only ever 20 feet high. Well, yeah, because you're waiting until the wave is right here to deal with the problem, when in fact, what you could be doing is I see a wave, let me start to swim out already and sort of get through it when I see the problem arising. But the real secret, the magical Christmas land, is when it's like, okay, I'm just going to swim out, and now I'm just going to chill in the water. I'm going to learn to buoy myself. Oh! And when you realize, wait a minute, I don't need to be aiming for a buoy to be able to hang out in this water. I am my own buoy. But in order to do that, that means that I have to be willing to do my demons whenever I want, like whenever it is necessary to do those. And I'm starting to understand two things. One, what I think Dave and Shan are really talking about when they say living in your demons all the time, and where the confusion, like where the disconnect is, because what I don't think they're saying is I don't think they're suggesting that you swim into the waves all the time. I don't think they're suggesting that you constantly flagellate yourself and like make your life unnecessarily difficult. They are a big fan of making your life temporarily difficult, but the idea for them is also to like cruise and chill. It's just the difference between cruising out in the water and on the ocean versus chilling on the land, on the beach, right? That's the big difference. Because here's the thing. Let's say that you know that Tidal, like, again, I'm just going to go back to Moana. There's lots of parts of Moana where she's just chilling on her boat. Like, she's not near the shore. She's got, she's got her food. She's just, there's no wave. It's just real placid. She's using the wind to get her towards her goal. She's just chilling. Nothing's happening. She's just chilling and trying to navigate. And sometimes she'll get a little turned around and then she course corrects. But like, and yes, of course there are going to be storms on the ocean. That's how the fucking ocean works. But it's not like this constant wave of like bullshit waves. And, thinking about the way that Dave and Chan have described their home, all of the laundry gets done in a very systematic way. All of the dishes get washed in a systematic way. The cups stack. The laundry is this. These are the workout clothes. These are the on-camera clothes. Like, again, that system works for them. Hooray. That system may not work for you. Hooray. That's not the point. The point is you just got to have a system, and you have to be willing to do your demons whenever doing your demons is the right thing to do. And getting practice with that as soon as possible is really, really helpful. So where I'm at right now in terms of like, how do I actually want to live my life? It is for sure not going to be aiming for a buoy. Because I think that aiming for a buoy, one, it makes your life unnecessarily difficult. But more importantly, buoys rust. Eventually, that buoy is going to become overcrowded as more and more people glom onto it. But also, if people don't want to leave and they're not dying, the buoy is just like this amalgam mass of people. And I'm like, I don't think that's a real sustainable way to live, guys, because now you're just fighting all the fucking time. And that's not going to work. That's not a thing. So how do we avoid the buoy but still be cool chilling out in the middle of the ocean? So step one is just learning how to swim. And I'm not talking about learning how to do these bursts of swimming of like white knuckle it fucking into the waves, man. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your average, everyday, run of the mill. I'm just swimming. I'm just chilling. I'm on a boat. Like, it's all good. That's what we need to learn how to do. Because being able to, I'm just going to go back to swimming, being able to sustain like a nice breaststroke. That wasn't a breaststroke. This is the breaststroke. Not going to do that anyway. It's not the point. Being able to sustain like a nice breaststroke or a nice freestyle crawl, whatever, like that's real different than walking. It's real different than walking. And here's the thing. There may be times when you got to go back to shore. No harm, no foul. But eventually you want to get to the point where you're like, I can hang out in the ocean. I'm chilling. I'm swimming. I'm grabbing fish. Like, I got sustenance. Sometimes like I got friends with boats. And that's the other thing. How about this? If we're talking about like real self-sufficiency, you do need, like, you can't live out on the ocean forever. Like, that's not really sustainable. You will like need water because you're going to get dehydrated. So like, you gotta figure some shit out, right? But, I think that, if we're talking about like, again, this is in a slightly different direction, but like the emotional intelligence required when you see a boat going by and they're like, look, if the boat's moving way, if you can't grab onto the boat and they don't want you on their boat, like, fuck them, you're fine. But if a boat comes by and it's like, hey, so I have this boat. You seem like you've been sweet, dude. If at that point you're like, no, you know what? Fuck you. I do what I want. Like, that's just dumb. Like, that is a low emotional intelligence move right there. But like, what you don't want is you don't want to be swimming. And here's where I've seen like a lot of relationships fall apart, whether it is a relationship to another person, to a family member, to a job, to a city, to a whatever, where that falls apart is when it's like, oh, fuck, thank God I never have to swim again. And then you're on this boat, and the longer you stay on the boat, the more you're like, fuck, do I know how to swim? I don't like swimming. I don't want to swim ever. Swimming isn't fun. And then if the boat starts to break down, or you start getting chippy with the person who's driving their own boat, then it's like, listen, this boat's rad as shit, but like, we don't get along anymore. Like, you're driving this boat in a direction that I very do not want to go in. And also your boat is fucking falling apart and you don't fix it. Like, what the fuck? And you won't let me touch and fix your boat. So like, listen, I got to get to where I'm trying to go. And I want to go that way. So either you can turn this ship around and drive me to where I want to go, or I'm just going to swim there myself, because at the end of the day, I still know how to swim, motherfucker. And being willing to, and where I think that like real emotional intelligence comes from when it comes to working on your demons, relying on others, tribe connections, control, like putting all of OP together, really to me is just emotional intelligence. And where that comes from is being able to go, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this boat that is going in the direction that I'm going in, and there's a ladder, and they're slowing down to pick me up. Like, yeah, I'm going to fucking get on that boat. That seems amazing. And also being willing to go, you know what? This boat stopped going in the direction I wanted it to a long time ago. So like, I need to get off this boat. And here's the real, you want to talk about the real magic trick of like using OP to your advantage? So you'll get on a boat, right? And you're like, I'm going in this direction. I'm going in this direction. And the boat's taking you in that direction. You're like, holy shit. This is a fucking yacht-ass speedboat fucking doing the things. And we're approaching the thing. And we're like, all right, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then as the speedboat keeps moving, it's like, wait, hang on. Now we're getting further away. Wait, hang on. Now we're getting further away. And you're like, well, and then the boat driver, if you're not the one driving your boat, the boat driver is like, well, I thought you wanted to go in this direction. And I'm like, yeah, but that was the goal. Like, I don't care about the direction. I just care about getting there. And at that time, this was the direction I needed to go in. And they're like, oh, well, my goal is down this way. I thought I picked you up because we were going in the same direction. Like, yes, we were, but like, can you turn well, I can't fucking turn the boat around. I'm not going back just because that's where you wanted to go. You're like, well, fuck. Okay, well, let me jump off. Let me swim back to it. You're still on the lookout for boats, right? Because obviously being on a boat is going to be a little easier than swimming. And so when you get on the boat, or when you're talking about getting on the boat, that's where you can have the conversation right up front of like, all right, we're moving in this direction. We're moving in this direction. This is where I'm going. And right now we're going in the same direction, but like, where are you going? And then they're like, you know what? I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm going in this direction with you right now. And then you're like, dope, I'm going to ride on this boat. And then as you start to approach where you either want, again, ideally you're having conversations throughout, again, whatever, I'm using relationship because it's the easiest to animalistically understand, but that really does apply to relationship to city, relationship to your material belongings, relationship to your job, relationship to your career, relationship to your online communities, relationship to various social media platforms, like whatever the fuck it is. It's having those check-ins of like, okay, listen, I know we're getting closer. I know we're not directly pointed at it, but I'm cool with like, we're moving towards it. And then you're like, you know what? I think I would like to start like moving very directly towards this goal, right? Let's call it an island, right? Let's say the island's that way, and there are buoys set up, and there are people with boats, right? This is now the analogy. So it's like, all right, I got, oh my God, of course. Right. So going back to the Aaron Alexander metaphor, right? He's talking about false plateau for false plateau. That's, if you're like going from buoy to buoy to buoy to buoy to buoy, trying to get to this island, that's really hard. Because now you're never there. You're just like thinking that a buoy is an island, but there's nothing on the island. Where what you really need to do is just learn how to fucking swim and be cool with swimming. And again, the boat comes and picks you up and you're like, hey, I'm headed towards that island. And they're like, I'm headed towards that island, which are roughly in the same direction. Phenomenal. As you get closer and the relationship starts to build, one or both of you are likely to be like, you know what? I kind of like your island better. Like, can we just like keep going towards your island? Because that's actually what I want. And they're like, oh my God, I thought you never, I didn't, yes, oh my God, yes. I love it. Let's be on the same boat, going to the same island because this island is dope. And that's great. Or if you have that check-in and you're like, all right, I know that we like have been splitting the difference, but like, I'm going to need to get to that island. Like that's the island that I'm going towards. And I'm going to like, we need to not right the ship, but like we need to make adjustments to the ship so that we're pointing towards the island that I'm trying to get to. And if they're like, oh, okay, so it's funny. I was going to talk to you too. I actually want to crank the wheel in the other direction. And then it's like, oh, fuck. Yes. Okay. Well, for the time being, let's stay the course, but like, just know that I'm not like, that is very much the direction I want this boat to go in, because that's the direction that I am going in. And if that means that I need to jump off this boat so that you can crank the wheel as hard as you want in this other direction, then that's what that means. Because like the last thing that I want is to hold you back from pursuing the things that you care about. And like, I need to, but like, that's my island. Like I need to get there. That's where I'm supposed to live. And then when you do it there, now you don't feel like you're backtracking. You don't feel like you overshot your island and missed your chance, right? And that's where I think this like, I missed my chance at the one thing can come from, is where it's like, no, I was aiming towards it. And, I had him there beneath my hand. I had him. And then you kept going in a direction that you didn't want to go, rather than getting off the train. Now we're transportation vehicles. They're sea trains, whatever. You're getting off the boat. What you ideally want to do is be like, listen, we're going to ride this as far as we can. But when it stops, like when I feel like I'm not getting closer to my goal, then I got to get off this boat. And as soon as you feel like trying to split the difference with me is keeping you from cranking the wheel in the direction that you know that you need to go, you got to kick me off your goddamn boat. And like, I think that we need this to be like, I think I need to not be on this boat anymore. And like, I loved the amount of time that we were on this boat together. You made the last 10 years of my life extraordinary and incredible, but like, my island is over there. And that's the direction I am going, with or without you. So like, That's what's happening. And that to me is like when you have full command of your saviors and your demons, you can have those conversations, you can make those decisions because you can trust that, like, yeah, I've been on this boat for 10 years, but don't think I don't still know how to swim. Like I know how to swim. Swimming's my shit. I've swum before. I can swim again in a lot fucking choppier waters than this. And it means giving up this, the safety of proverbially dry land. But now I'm going to get in the water and like actually start moving towards my goals. And yeah, I'm going to be a little tired. I got to learn how to like, float and sustain and learn the egg beater technique with the feet to keep yourself buoyed, whatever. And look, if another boat comes along, amazing. If other boats don't come along, that's fine. I'm still a good enough swimmer that I can handle me. And eventually, I'm going to work on building my own boat so that I can help people get to where they're going and do the grow and give thing. But my point is, you can't rely on buoys. Buoys are fine for a second, but you can't invest. A buoy is not an island. That's what I want to end on. A buoy is not an island because buoys don't have food. They get very overcrowded. They lull you into a false sense of security, and they make you think that you're swimming when you're not really swimming. And then the tidal wave just kicks your ass, and you're like, well, I was out in the water, and it's like, no, you gotta keep swimming. You gotta keep swimming. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.